Welcome back to Game Talk from the Bench. I'm your host, Drew Barreto, and today I'm here with my co-host, my uncle Andrew Barreto. And today we're talking a little bit more about the Super Bowl, but otherwise we're talking more NFL news. Today we're mostly going to be focusing on the NBA trade deadline and moves that are already being made. We then got your weekly standings update in the NBA, and then a couple more trades went down in the MLB. We'll talk about that later. However, to start us off, I already know we gave our Super Bowl predictions last week, but our prediction for Super Bowl, mine hasn't changed. It's Seattle. Seattle, the way that defense is. I've said this about the Texas defense, but it's one of a kind. I mean, looking back, we said this season there wasn't no powerhouse, right? Throughout the season, we said there's no one team that looks like they're going to win it all. But then, to the point we are now, looking back at it, the Seahawks were that powerhouse team, and now they're in the Super Bowl, and they're probably most likely going to win it, and that's who I got winning.
Yeah, down the stretch, I mean, they turned up the notch, or flipped the switch, or whatever you want to call it, and they just really started dominating whoever they played. Right, they did it a couple times to the Niners, they did it to the Rams. Just pretty much everybody that they faced, they dominated them, and mine hasn't changed either. My prediction, I'm still with the Seahawks. They're 4.5 point favorites right now, which I think it was still the same. It was roughly
Yeah.
around the same, like a week ago when we first talked about it. But yeah, I'm still going with the Saints. Drake May, I know they're playing off this shoulder issue that he's having.
Yeah.
They're kind of saying it's not that major, but I don't know. I beg to differ. I
Yeah,
think it's a little
and
bit more.
I was just about to bring that up. I'm surprised. I was gonna say I'm surprised the money lines have or the lines haven't changed, especially because they expressed from when he was out with illness one day and he was dealing with the shoulder injury, and so I'm wondering, has this been like a lingering thing? Like you just said, they're downplaying it a little bit, but can this be a huge hindrance on him in the game? But I don't know. We'll see. They both teams touched down in the Bay yesterday. They were at the San Jose convention last night. They were answering questions. Um, Honestly, I saw someone ask Mike Vrabel if the Super Bowl was a must-win game. I couldn't believe I heard that. I just laughed. I was like, "What kind of question is that?" But he had a great response. He's like, "Every game is a must-win game." So I thought that was a great response by him. But yeah, it's just cool. Bay Area, San Jose, it's where I'm from. So seeing all the teams touch down and being over here, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, those media days, I'm sure you've seen it before, where they ask just a wide range of questions,
Yeah,
from, what's your favorite dinner to, to getting more serious and talking X and O's and stuff. But um, yeah, no, like I said, I just think Seahawks are going to dominate this. I know they then on their side they have a potential, or all but done, coaching controversy. Like he's, Clint Kubiak, he's interviewing while in the process, so they're trying to bring some drama to the game, right? Like, oh,
yeah.
that could be a distraction. Drake May's shoulder's a distraction. Nothing's like a distraction, more like the Raiders in 2003 when the center, Barrett Robbins. 2003, how old are you in 2003?
It was -4.
So you don't know about this. Yeah, he took
No,
off
but
the
I
Mets.
heard about it. I heard about it because I just saw a TikTok about that Super Bowl. How if the head coach was a Canahan, um,
Callahan, yeah.
Callahan, if he
Callahan.
had changed up
Yeah.
the game plan, if the
Right.
center didn't like lose his mind, like they would have had a better shot of winning that
Well,
Super Bowl.
this is the thing too, right? That was the question during media day. Like John Gruden, you're facing John Gruden. That's the ex-coach who woke up at 4 or 5 in the morning and was first one in, last one to leave, kind of thing, at the facility, and he knows everything about your players. Like, did you guys change anything up? And Bill Callahan was just telling, saying all the right things, saying, "Oh, we changed up a lot of, the play calling and a lot of language and terminology and all that." Well, I mean, come game time, it was domination, 48-21. Gruden knew every single play that they were
John Lynch was
running.
calling out every play.
He was calling, yeah, you've seen the NFL films. They're like, it's like we know every single play. I mean, it was just,
There's
it
no
was
way an
not.
MVP with those 4 picks in a Super Bowl. But it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen just randomly.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the right position at all time. And I don't know, do we even know who that guy who won MVP of the Super Bowl is? Do you know what his name is?
No clue. I'm pretty
Dexter
sure.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Where is he now? They could do a 30 for 30 on him. Where is he now? I mean, not. I mean, I'm not taking any credit away from the Buccaneers. They had one of the best defenses probably in football that year. They were number one up there. Like with the Ravens, Baltimore Ravens, and things like that. They had Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, to name a couple. John Lynch, you mentioned John Lynch. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, they were dominant there, but at the same time, the Raiders had the number one offense that year, and looks like they didn't change the terminology after all because it was a route in, San Diego that year.
Yeah, speaking of distractions, the Seahawks are going up for sale after the Super Bowl. Now, I don't know
Oh,
if this is
right.
just something to get their value up, but I was talking to someone and they're like, I think it's just, for them to say, hey, if we lose the Super Bowl, we're selling, but if we win the Super Bowl, we'll keep the team. But I don't know. That's that was pretty big news. I was surprised when I saw that first come out, and I was like, oh wow, make the Super
Yeah,
Bowl now you're gonna sell the team?
yeah. The wrong time to be bringing it up is as they're
Yeah,
flying to San Francisco, the Bay Area, and stuff. And but yeah, I just think still, besides all that and all these storylines that are out there, Seahawks ultimately get that victory, and then everybody starts moving on with coaches moving around, and who knows, maybe there's some more firings. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it'll be this first year where I think the halftime for me is going to be where we're at, right? Bad Bunny and company
Bad Bunny. Yeah, we'll see how that is. A lot of controversy around that. He just
with
won
that as
multiple
well, right?
Gram, won multiple Grammys the other night. But I don't know. I mean, I don't listen to a bunch of his music. I like a couple of his songs, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. Man, every year the halftime show is normally good. I mean, I don't remember the last time it's really been a bad halftime show, so we'll see. But moving on to some NFL news, just some more coaching news, some player news. Devin Lloyd, linebacker, he's looking to go out in free agency. One of the top linebackers from the past season. He was on the Jaguars. I mean, he was phenomenal this year. Pro Bowler, obviously. He's going to be testing the market. Franchise tag for linebacker, I want to say it's 27 million. Might be wrong, but yeah, he's one of the best there is, and he's going to be hitting free agency. So we'll see if the Jaguars try to retain him, or if they're just gonna let him go, let him test him. But more hirings when it comes to coaches. Matt Nagy, he is going to the offensive coordinator of where did it go? Oh, Giants are hiring Matt Nagy as the offensive coordinator. Obviously, Chiefs hired Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. So obviously, Matt Nagy was odd man out. Um, Browns hired Todd Monken to be their head coach instead of promoting their defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. They go with the former Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator as their head coach. So we'll see how that goes. More coaching news: Mike LaFleur. My bad. Mike LaFleur, brother of Matt LaFleur, is becoming the head coach of the Cardinals. He just had his press conference, I believe, yesterday. Matt LaFleur, obviously, his brother was there to support him. And for us Raider fans, Clint
Mm-hmm.
Kubiak will become the head coach of the Raiders. Now, obviously, he's in the Super Bowl, so nothing can be signed, nothing can be officially announced. But it is
This is
looking,
verbal. Verbal?
it's a verbal confirmation.
Oof.
It's tough, I know, it's tough. It's tough to get your hopes up and then him be like, oh,
Hey,
I'm going back to
they win the
Seattle.
Super Bowl. He's feeling good, and he gets tired. He starts drinking a few, Bud
Yeah,
Lights or whatever he likes, and he's feeling a little tipsy. I mean, I could see him, telling coach, "Hey, I'm gonna, Mike McDonald. I'll stick around. Let me tell the Raiders,
yeah.
I
Well,
pass. I hope not, of course,
we
right?
hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, no. So verbal agreement of Clint Kubiak becoming the Raiders head coach. He'd be the youngest head coach in the AFC West. He's 38, although the coaches are 60 plus. But he says he's focused on Sunday, which is Super Bowl, and he's not gonna really answer questions about the Raiders head coaching job. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully come Monday morning after Super Bowl, and the Seahawks win, and he'll take the job. So we're hoping for that. Other news: Robert Kraft was not in the Hall of Fame. So that's two Patriots, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, not they're just not in
Yeah,
the Pro
yeah.
Bowl. Not the Pro
They're
Bowl,
really
the Hall of Fame.
the Hall of Fame. They're really sticking it to these Patriots. I mean, we talked about it last time about Belichick not being a first round ballot Hall of Famer, and it's like, are you kidding me? Does he has what, 6 rings as a coach, 2 as a coordinator? I mean, that if anyone has a resume, it's him. and now Kraft is the second guy in that party there, not to get the first ballot nod. But yeah, I guess there's just some people are holding them back, giving them some negative votes there for Spygate, right? They had the Spygate, they had a
Yeah.
Deflate Gate, they had uh, yeah, whatever you call it. They just, any kind of angle that they could get that whole, what was it, decade of dominance that they're being held back in the Hall of Fame. But it's just like the first year, and I'm pretty sure next year they'll get in. And some of these voters are just trying to, try to be a name for themselves, I guess.
Yeah, when they asked Tony Dungy about it, he refused to answer on who he voted for. He
Oh
said, "We'll
yeah,
see who gets
yeah.
in, we'll see who doesn't." So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, no,
Smart.
it's yeah, well, it's pretty interesting. I forgot to give a disclaimer. Sorry for my lights going out. It's midterms week. Uh, these rooms they book up fast. But no, I'm trying to get these lights turned on. But Niners hire Falcons former head coach Raheem Morris as their defensive coordinator. I don't know if you want to give your thoughts on that.
Yeah, they were looking for someone to fill that void, right? Robert Saleh, him getting a second chance to be a head coach, and I like the hire. I mean, yeah, I want to say he's pretty much. I know maybe not so much as a head coach, but he's been pretty successful on the defensive side. Obviously, I mean he's you know
Mm-hmm.
uh, a name that comes up when people are looking for a defensive coordinator. So I don't know. I always those Niners do a pretty good job of getting coordinators. John Lynch is a pretty hands-on. Kyle Shanahan, that group, they got a good head on their shoulders when they get together in that group, that war room or whatever it may be, and I think they had a good choice here, and ready for the next season. Get that D coordinator in line.
Yeah, obviously he's got experience. He won. He was with the Rams when that won the Super Bowl before he became the head coach of the Falcons. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting how he sees. He's got to see how his scheme lines up with players like Fred Warner, Nick Bosa in the corners. But yeah, so good for the Niners. They fill up a huge position. Obviously, losing you don't want to lose Robert Saleh, but that's what happens. More news. Ram McVay or not Ram Sean McVay and GM Les Snead, they both agreed to multi-year contracts with the team, which is a phenomenal. I mean, they're probably like one of the two best head coaching GM combo there's out there. Obviously, they've been in the Super Bowl twice. Um, they won the Super Bowl. They've been in the playoffs. I want to say every year, and they've consistently been competitive. And so it's good for the Rams fans. They get to keep hoping for another Super Bowl win. Obviously, I think that this past year or this year they should have been there, but fell a little short. But they just move on to the next year. And some more coaching hirings. Davis Webb. Davis Webb was a big name in the offseason. He was getting a lot of praise from coaches. Some thought he'd become a head coach until the Broncos fired their offensive coordinator, and now they just promoted him to their new offensive coordinator. So Davis Webb will get offensive coordinator experience under his belt before the next head coaching cycle. So we'll see if he'll become a future head coach. But that is all for NFL. I know I said we are going to talk more about NBA because we are. Before we get into some trade deadline stuff, we'll give you a weekly standings updates. Pistons still lead the East. I know I haven't really watched them. I watched them when they played the Warriors. Warriors they fell a little short, but man, this Pistons team is good. They're good. Jalen Duren,
Yeah,
Cade Cunningham, and that's a great 1-2 combo. I mean, you got a 6'10" point guard, and then you got a 7 foot center. I mean, come on, there's a lot of size mismatch there.
yeah, they didn't mess around when they played the Warriors. They were putting a beating on, right? And I know the Warriors, they came back, they were down 20, maybe more than 20 points, and they brought it all the way back to within four or
Yeah,
five. But it looked like that the Pistons could have easily put the switch on, and just they did the whole game. They were just out muscling them, out hustling, everything. They were just really putting the whooping on it. And yeah, they're the real deal. They have, especially with Cade Cunningham at the point, the facilitator, score whenever he wants. He has an advantage over those smaller guards, and they really go to that. And if he gets doubled and he finds, Jalen Duren underneath the basket yeah, they're a good team. I like them, and they've been pretty consistent at the number one spot in the East.
They have. And following them is the Knicks. The Knicks were down a couple spots before, but they've climbed their way back up. I've talked about it. They should be one of the top two teams in the East. So now that they are, following them in third place, Celtics. Celtics have been playing great. They made a big trade today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But then they're followed by the Raptors, who are 30-21, and the Cavs were also 30-1. And the Cavs, so another team, made a big trade that we'll get into. Followed by the 76ers, which Paul George just got suspended 25 games for using PEDs. So we'll see how that affects their current run. Followed by the 7th seed Heat at 24 or 27-24, and then the Magic, Bulls, and Hawks round out the 8th, 9th, and 10th seed. Um, Also noticeable, Hornets on the come up. They're kind of close to the playing spot. I think they're 7-game win streak. But then the
Yeah.
12th seed is the 18 and 19 Bucks. Just want to throw that out there for Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks to keep a reminder. But in the
18 and
West,
29. Yeah.
yeah. But in the West, we have the first seed Thunder at 39-11, followed by the Spurs who are 33-16. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama. Nuggets got Jokic back. They're the third seed at 33-17, followed by the Rockets at 31-17. Timberwolves are 31-20. Lakers are 29-19, and then the Suns are 30-20, and the Warriors are the eighth seed at 27-23. The second through the eighth seed, they're all within 5 to 6 games with each other. Could come down to the wire for the standings in the West. And then Clippers, they made a trade earlier today, and then the Blazers are the ninth and the 10th seed to round out that play-in. Um, so that's your weekly standings update. But the trade deadline isn't until Thursday. It's Thursday the 5th. I want to say Thursday at 1 o'clock. But I don't know if the NBA said, "Hey, trade deadline's today" or whatnot. But a lot of things went down today. I was surprised when I just saw one, and then they domino effect. They kept
Because
coming.
people couldn't
Um,
wait.
they
They're ready
couldn't.
now, and once they came to an agreement, yeah, there was like a snowball effect, and some some good players getting traded, and Hall of Famers being traded as well. So
Yes, so the most recent trade, we're going to go in order. The most recent trade, the Clippers are sending James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland and a second round pick. Shocking. Yeah, Harden said he wanted to stay in LA. Obviously, they aren't winning games. Cleveland's in a better position. They trade the young guard and future second um, to LA. So I know Darius Garland, he's an all-star player. He has been dealing with a decent amount of injuries as of recent, the past season or two. So I can understand their little frustration. Donovan Mitchell's been playing great. They're in a great position to win, but you trade the young star or the young all star for an old James Harden. Now, obviously, James Harden's still James Harden, right? I'm not taking
yeah,
that away, but we'll
this
see
is
how he
the
plays.
this is the Hall of Famer I was talking about here who just got traded. I mean, even right before All Star Weekend, where they're the All Stars in LA, right? They trade their best player away before, and this reminds me of what the Rockets did, right? The Rockets were in the playoffs. Jalen Green, a young guard was didn't do well in that series against the Warriors, and the next year came, and who they end up trading him, getting Durant, an older but still elite shooter in the game, right? And looks like the Clippers almost did something similar, right? They traded their young guy Darius Garland, who I think he's like 26 or something like that. So he's still, yeah, he's got a lot of
Hmm.
NBA left in him. But they end up wanting to get a proven veteran who's already been there, and James Harden to help them with their playoff push, um, down the stretch.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how they go because, like, a lot of players nowadays, they don't want to sacrifice their stats or their play style. Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, now they don't have the same exact play style, but they're both two players that they just can take the offense on their own. They'll do their own thing, ISO ball, whatever. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But James Harden, nonetheless, is still chasing that ring. Obviously, this is the better opportunity for him in his later years. So we'll see how that ends up. But the second deal, not the second deal of the day, it was the third. No, it was the second deal of the day. Um, was between the Celtics and the Bulls. Nikola Vucevic obviously he's been on the trade block for some time. Hasn't gotten dealt, but he gets dealt today. Nikola Vucevic and the future second round pick are going to Boston in exchange for Anthony Simons and a future second round pick. Now, to me, it's a weird one. Obviously, Vucevic has been with the Bulls for quite some time. Obviously, they've been quite some playing team the past couple of years. But Anthony Simons on the Celtics, he's been hooping. I mean, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I haven't really been following the Celtics. I just, I give us the weekly standings update. But right now with Boston, he's been averaging 14 points, 2.5 rebounds, about 2.5 in assists. So he's been playing great. Obviously, they were the 3 seed, but I guess they needed center help, and I guess because I mean they might be anticipating Jason Tatum coming back. That could be it. But they get themselves
Yeah,
a center.
that very well could be it. I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, Anthony Simons, he's the, he's a good player. This was already, he thought he was going to be there for, for a good amount of time in Portland. He ended up getting shipped to the Celtics, and now it looks like he's moving again. Um, but I think it did come down to size and trying to get some bigger bodies in there for, you go the Vucevic is 6'9", and I believe he shoot big man, he can shoot the three, that
Yeah,
kind.
he can
Those
spread the
those guys
floor.
are always those guys are always a hot commodity in the NBA, and so yeah, not surprised, but Celtics are pulling some moves and waiting for, yeah, like you said, Jason Tatum to come back and make their own run, right? I
Make
mean,
the run, make a run for their
they're
second ring
not.
in the last couple of
Look
years.
at yeah, they're the third seed right now, and looking to make some noise. So not bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad trade for the
Now,
Celtics.
okay, now before the first trade of the day, there was like a little like 3 team trade, but it was Kevin Huerter, Dario Saric, and a 2026 first round pick is going to Detroit. Chicago is receiving Mike Conley Jr. from Minnesota and Jaden Ivey from Detroit, and Minnesota did not acquire anyone. They just traded away Mike Conley, which is I don't know how that works. Um, I guess they just yeah, I don't know how that works, but yeah. So the Chicago receives obviously the vet and Mike Conley, the young guard and Jaden Ivey, and Detroit receives the sharpshooter and Kevin Herter, and a guy who plays the floor and Dario Saric. I don't know. I don't know why Detroit would trade their young star for. I mean, I get the pick swap with Minnesota could be better for them, but I don't know. Kevin Herter, Dario Saric, nothing about them. I've seen both of them play. Nothing about them screams exciting. Screams maybe they do make the team better, but you have a young guard in Jaden Ivey. I saw
Mhm.
just the statistic today. Cade Cunningham missed 80% of his rookie year, and as soon as he was starting to figure things out, he got hit with a devastating injury, and he was coming back, and then he's shipped off. So it's I don't know. I guess this could be a very big win for Chicago, depending on how Jaden Ivey ends up being. But yeah, this was a little bit of an interesting one to me, especially when Minnesota trades 2 things, or they pick swap and then they trade away a player and they receive nothing. I don't know. Guess they were just getting the
Yeah,
salary dump away
maybe
from
a
Mike
little.
Conley.
Yeah, it could be a little too early here on the Jaden Ivey move. Um, but just watching that game against the Warriors, he came in, and I mean, I want to say he didn't have that many minutes. We didn't see him playing that much, and so they probably thought like, hey, this give him more minutes. Maybe we end up trading him elsewhere because he's not gonna get much playing time here. So let's get a guy who's a knockdown three shooter, Herder, who I mean seems like he's been traded around, right,
He's been
quite
around
a
the
bit
block.
himself. A lot of these
Yeah,
guys, I'm like, oh, Vucevic too. I think Vucevic's been on several teams. You know, Herder, I can remember about the Hawks and the Kings, and
the
oh
Kings.
man, these guys,
Yeah,
they're all over the
yeah.
place. But yeah, maybe they gave up a little too early. That's the thing too. It's like a lot of these GMs and coaches, maybe they just get antsy and they want to end up moving their younger stars. They still have some value because of how young they are. It's kind of like Kaminga. Hey, Kaminga, we drafted you what, 2020, something like 2021,
2021. Yeah,
and
22.
we're
21,
waiting
I
here.
think. Yeah,
These guys are waiting to where now it's all but should be all but done. But it's like they gave them a little time there, and then like I said, they're eager to move some of these young guys there while they still have some upside to them.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's like I said, I think they who knows, could be a big one for Chicago, but I guess Detroit seeing themselves in the one seed, and they're trying to get back to that 2003 when they last won it. So so we'll see. But the first trade of today, it was a big one, and it was another strange. These first two of the day were pretty strange. Last two they made more sense, but this first one, Jaren Jackson Jr., who, mind you, the Grizzlies weren't willing to trade last season. He gets traded. He gets traded to the Jazz. The Jazz, the worst team,
Yeah.
one of the worst teams in the West. They sent Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Tyler Hendricks, George Niang, and three future first round picks for Jaren Jackson, Jock Londale, John Concar, and Vince Williams Jr.'s. Uh, yeah, no, this is Memphis. Obviously, I mean, yeah, Memphis obviously hasn't been winning much. John Morant obviously has been playing. I guess they're moving on to Zach Edey's their future. But this was a weird one for me. I guess Utah's not been a good team ever since they had. The last time they were good is when they had Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, but they haven't been good since. And now they're trading for Jaren Jackson Jr. Obviously, he's obviously the defensive player of the year before. Could put up 20 plus, but the man can't grab rebounds. And now I get it, you do have 7'1", 7'2" Walker Kessler, but he's out with the injury this year. Maybe I guess they're looking to play him at the power forward. I don't know, but who knows?
They're
Maybe the Jazz are cooking something up, and they might be a top
Yeah,
team in
they
the West
are.
next
I
year.
think they are. They got a lot of good talent, a lot of young talent, right? You see them and they make a lot of mistakes. I mean, because they're all young, right? You got Keontae George, he's one of the main players there with Laurie Market in. You
They do
named
have Laura
uh
Market.
Kessler Walker there. I mean, yeah, when he's back, it's gonna be that's gonna be like a core. And you put Jaron Jackson Jr., right? I mean,
They have a big
um
lineup.
he- he's good. He's a good player, man. He's only 20, what, 26?
Yeah, he's 26 or 27, one of the
Uh,
two.
20. Yeah, he's a young guy. I mean, he's already been defensive player of the year. One time he could hit the three again. Another big guy who could hit the three.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. One of the
yeah, I
better
like
ones too.
I like it for the Jazz. I think they want to, obviously, looks like they want to invest and build something there and try to get a young core. That's Everyone's going to try to get the OKC model, right? Where you get all these
Yeah,
young guys
what
who
I think
eventually
that's
come up and win the.
what Memphis
But
is doing. They traded Desmond Bain for multiple picks. Now they just traded Jaren Jackson Jr. for multiple picks. So now either they're going to use those picks, use them to draft, or they might trade them. They might haul them for a star player. But who
yeah,
knows? I mean, they traded away two of their better players, and all they got left is John Morant now. So we'll see how that is. But
yeah,
the final trade.
they actually have 12 first round picks over
Oh
the
wow.
next 7 seasons. So I mean, it's them, OKC, and Brooklyn Nets who have the most picks, in the league. And yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe they're trying to bring a superstar to play alongside Memphis, and they're just trying to get all these assets, all these draft picks right now, and so they may be brewing something themselves. Because those draft picks are not always they
They're
don't
not a
always
hit.
turn it
You
right. I
look at the
mean,
Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are picking the top of every year because they can never hit their draft picks.
exactly, yeah. So I mean, and then being a
Ah,
Warrior fan, there goes your lights again. Being a Warrior fan, we know
there you
that
go.
there's been a lot. They've been looking for someone to while Steph gets a rest, they were always looking for somebody there, and they've come along with Jordan Poole, who sounds like he's all but going to be moved as well from
Yeah,
the Pelicans. They've had guys. I just drawing a blank on some of their names, but yeah, Ryan Rollins was another guy. I think
James Wiseman.
yeah. So um, yeah, these first round picks don't always pan out. So when you get a chance to give those draft picks up for a proven player like Jazz did, I just think I like that deal for Utah, and we'll see what Memphis does with all these picks.
Yeah, we will see. But the final trade, it happened a couple days ago. Well, it happened on Sunday. And this guy that got traded, he's been around almost the whole league at this point. Cavs at Dennis Schroeder. Um,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
Cleveland receives Keon Ellis, Dennis Schroeder, and Emmanuel Miller. Chicago received Dario Saric, and two second round picks, and the Kings got DeAndre Hunter. Dennis Schroeder, man, I want to say he's been traded 7 times within the past year. Crazy.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, sounds about right. Even the guy, he was playing in Germany too
Shoot,
during
he's got, he
the
was playing with
yeah.
yeah. Shoot, this dude's been moving across the
He
country.
gets around.
Yeah, yeah,
But he still obviously wanted. Teams want him. I mean, he's just he's a scorer. He could score, and so they're just if there's a team looking for someone, to fill in as a starter or come off the bench, and he could put up some points and just be aggressive playing style that he has, and could put up some points quick.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see how that is. Like just a reminder, the trade deadline is until Thursday. Every trade deadline is different from baseball and NFL. So I know we recording this on Tuesday, the 3rd. So obviously when more news comes out, we'll obviously cover it next episode. And I'll try to get some post out on that as soon as it breaks. But yeah, no, that was crazy. I was like, dang, there's not much to be talked about in the NBA because the trade deadline's not till Thursday, but then these trades went out today, and I was like, this is perfect. We could give our opinion on it right now today.
You're Yeah, you're gonna have to do I know something, a post about
Yeah,
potential Warriors move.
potential
As
Warriors
soon
move. I don't know.
as,
They
well,
say
I heard the latest. Go ahead.
They're saying, yeah, the latest is the
The latest is that
Timberwolves.
who's that?
It's the Timberwolves. That's why they traded Mike Conley to free up some money. They're gonna send a haul to Milwaukee for Giannis and pair him up with Ant. Would be cool to see. I'm a big fan of Anthony Edwards. So we'll see about that. But yeah, it's either I want to say it's between them or Miami, but I just can't see him going to Miami because Miami's not a great team. If they're gonna trade for him, they're gonna have to give up probably like Tyler Hero, and it's gonna be what him and
Mhm.
Bam. So I don't know. But yeah, we'll keep you updated on the Giannis sweepstakes, but we'll see. Till Thursday. Still a lot of time.
Yeah, I think just seeing that Milwaukee's throwing offers for the teams that are interested. And yeah, I mean, if I'm Milwaukee, go for it all, right? I mean, just tell them you want 5 first rounders and see what happens. See who's quick to pull the trigger and who wants to do that. I mean, he's a two-time MVP, someone who's obviously one of the best players in the league. So when this happens, this is the kind of thing that probably the Mavericks could have got if anybody knew that Luka was available. I mean, uh, instead of just letting Luka walk, I mean, they could have been fielding offers, getting 5 first-round draft picks, and
Yeah.
there was no guarantee they were getting Cooper Flag, so that was luck.
That's all because it was just an Adam Silver inside job, but
He
that's a
fixed it,
different
huh? He
conversation.
fixed those bouncy balls.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll keep you updated on that. But to end off today's episode, I'll go over some MLB news that I went down. Obviously the World Baseball Classic is coming up very soon in March. But a couple of trades were made. Boston Red Sox, they traded right-handed pitcher David Sandlin, relief right-handed pitcher Jordan Hicks, and a player to be named later to the White Sox, and cash to the White Sox for right-handed pitcher Gage Zeal and a player to be named later. Now, when you first hear this, you're thinking, why do we care about this trade? Well, that's because Jordan Hicks main headline the Rafael Devers trade to San Fran, and now all the players that went from San Fran to Boston I believe, besides Kyle Harrison, all of them are gone. The prospect that they gave to the prospects that the Giants gave to the Red Sox, he got dealt at the deadline. Now Jordan Hicks got dealt, so it's like, dude, this was looking like a steal for the Giants, and the Red Sox made a huge mistake trading away their star third baseman. But it's brutal. But yesterday we had another three-team trade. Um, Was it three-team trade? I might be wrong. It might be a two-team trade. No, it's between the Mariners and the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals traded second baseman Donovan Mitchell to the Mariners for Colton Ledbetter, switch switch-handed pitcher Jarangler Singente. I'm probably butchering that. Outfielder Tay Pete and multiple draft picks. So obviously, Mariners, who were one game away from the World Series, lost Jorge Polanco in the offseason, and they just lost Eugenio Suarez. They get the All Star second baseman Brendan Donovan to fill in the void. So big move for them. As it goes to Eugenio Suarez, this might have been a couple days ago. He goes and signs with the Reds, the team that he originally extended with, and then got traded to the Mariners, and then he got traded to the Diamondbacks, and then he went back to the Mariners, and now he's back in Cincinnati on a new deal, 1 year, $15 million deal. Another player who signed a cheap deal, Luis Arias, former Padre, he's going to the Bay. He's going to the Giants on a 1 year, $12 million deal. As you know, teams are trying to prepare for the Dodgers, doing all they can to
Oh,
compete.
absolutely.
But yeah, so
Good luck.
yeah, good luck for sure. But yeah, so yeah, a couple trades being made. Otherwise, we're just waiting for spring training to gonna start soon. And so, baseball fans, get excited because we might not have baseball in 2027. But that is all for today. Thank you all for tuning in. I'd like to thank my co-host, my uncle, joining me joining me for today. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify. Don't forget to like, comment. I've been thinking of a new segment where we might be getting some people's hot takes and giving our own thoughts about that. We'll see how that is. Still thinking of some new segments. But yeah, so don't forget to like, comment, talk, let us know what you guys want us to talk about. And until next time, stay ready